What is going on, y'all? Gamers Goon here today, and today we are predicting the 53-man roster for the Chicago Bears. We are going to be following every single preseason game with the Bears. We'll be giving updates on who I think will and will not make the roster. Just if you're looking at the screen where we have it right now, over here is the guys that I have on my 53-man. Green are guys that I think are locks. Yellow are guys that I don't necessarily think are locks, but probably make it. And over here is guys I think the Bears are at least looking at as potentially taking one of those 53-man spots. Potentially some practice squad guys over here, guys that I think they'll try to keep, or guys that I think are at least in contention. So, we'll start off with the QBs. Obviously, the QBs, Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent. I think Tyson Bagent has done enough in the small amount of time we have gotten to see him. I think he is potentially one of the better backup QBs in the NFL. When he's gotten opportunities, he has looked good. He hasn't really had much of an opportunity, just his spot starts here and there, spot moments when a QB's gone down, whether it was Caleb or the year prior with Fields. We got to see a little bit of Bagent. So I do think Bagent holds on to that spot. I don't know if this team's going to keep 2 or 3 QBs on the 53-man. That is kind of why Case Keenum and Austin Reed are sitting over there as potential guys that are going to be fighting for the 53-man. I think there's some spots on the 53-man that are open. Like they might, for example, I have them taking 4 running backs on their 53-man. They might only take 3. I don't really know. So that could open up a spot for Case Keenum, who I think if it's a quarter, they take 3 quarterbacks, Case Keenum would be the guy. Austin Reed, though, I expect to keep on the practice squad or try to keep, because Tyson Bagent after this season becomes a free agent, so you might be able to work with Austin Reed to eventually take that QB2 role. But I'm kind of iffy on Austin Reed at the moment. Tyson Bagent, clearly the guy that needs to be the backup this season. Then we get to the running backs. We have DeAndre Swift. He is locked golden. RB1, I'm not worried. Now, Monangai and Roshan, I kind of have in the yellow territory. Monangai, I can see them pushing him to the practice squad. Was a 7th-round rookie running back. I could see them pushing him to the practice squad. Travis Homer, I think, is probably a lock to make the team. I don't have him in green, though, because he's going to probably play a very special teams heavy role for this team. Roshan, I would probably be the RB2 here out of this group, but I don't think anything's a home run. You also have Ian Wheeler, who has looked good in time in the preseason in the past. Is he a guy that can maybe push one of these guys for a spot, maybe even Travis Homer out and take his special teams role? I'm not sold on the running back depth. I like Monangai, I like Roshan. They're not guys that I necessarily think are locks for the 53-man. There's been some rumors about adding another running back, and if they do that, does Roshan move out? I would assume one of these two, Roshan or Monangai, will be in the 53-man. If the roster is as it currently is, I would expect both to be in the 53-man. Just some uncertainty at the running back position always has like that inkling that there could be another ad at the running back position, because you're going to see guys get cut and you're going to see guys show out in the preseason, and they might only make a practice squad. You can kind of poach them from another practice squad. Roshan Johnson, I like as a player, but hasn't really gotten much opportunity to this point to really show that. And Monangai obviously being the rookie. And then Homer's probably just going to be a special teams ad, but he has been really consistent the last couple years. I think he'll probably make the 53-man. So with the current team, I think those are your running backs. Receivers, we only have 4 lock receivers. DJ Moore, Romadudze, Luther Burden, the rookie, and Olamide Zacchaeus from Atlanta. I really like him as a veteran leader in that locker room. And then we have Devin Duvernay and Miles Boykin. I think Duvernay is probably safer than Boykin. I wanted to keep 6 receivers on the roster. Tyler Scott was a guy that I thought of. Hasn't really, there was some buzz about him potentially being released or traded last year. I don't know if Boykin's also bigger. I think Boykin's like 6'3", 6'4". I'm just giving Boykin the edge there. Tyler Scott, a guy that will be in a camp battle for a roster spot. Woodsy, a guy that can get traded. For the most part, though, we haven't seen too much to suggest that Tyler Scott will stick on this team. Then you have the other two receivers that are rookies, the undrafted guys. Ja'Day Walker, who I really like and I think could be a big-time player for us, is like that third or fourth receiver. Very good, spectacular catch like rating. If you were in Madden, like this guy can make some good catches. This guy, like some of the camp highlights out of Ja'Day Walker is really, really impressive. J.P. Richardson has been getting buzz around this team. I think where's he? I think he's from like TCU or something. But either way, these two guys, look for them in the preseason. Our game Sunday, I'm going to be watching for these two guys right here because I think there is some spots open at the receiver spot. Maybe Duvernay's is safe because he's been around Boykin. I think that 6 receiver spot's wide open. I wouldn't be shocked if Boykin's taken out. Duvernay I don't think is necessarily a lock. I would say he's about like a 65-70% chance that he's on the 53-man if I had to guess. But I do think one of these 3 receivers right here, Scott, Richardson, or Ja'Day Walker, can definitely push for some time. You're gonna need Tyler Scott to really show out in the preseason because he's a guy that I liked coming out of college, but not a guy that the Bears have really done much with, and I think that could be to his detriment here. So I do think we'll keep 3 tight ends on roster. You're going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, Durham Smythe in there as well. I have, obviously we picked him up. Steven Carlson's a guy that has been on the team for a couple of years. I expect him to at least sit on the practice squad. He might even be able to push Durham Smythe out of that spot, but I do think you're probably more comfortable with Steven Carlson on the practice squad. Durham Smythe adds some veteran leadership to this team as well. Good blocking tight end. And you're going to need some of that because I don't think you can put... I mean, Loveland's an okay... I think Loveland has a ways to go for being a blocking tight end, but I think Smythe could really bring that for them in the run game. So Smythe, I am giving the edge here. They could potentially add a 4th tight end with Steven Carlson, but I'm kind of nervous to put a 4th tight end, and realistically that would probably take one out of the receiver or running back room because I don't really want to shorten up the offensive line or anything on the defensive side. So I'm keeping 3 tight ends. So we get to the offensive line, and I think the offensive line's pretty set. Left tackle Braxton Jones and Ozzie Trapillo, the rookie, might even push for a starting role. I really like Ozzie Trapillo and the things we're hearing out of him out of camp. So those are the 2 guys on the offensive line. There's no left tackles really that I think. I mean, I forget, there might be another left tackle on the roster. Let me look up because the Bears released their depth chart a couple days ago. Their 3rd left tackle is Joshua Miles. I don't know if he's gonna stick. These are just guys that I think will at least be practice squads. I'm not gonna go and say everybody's gonna be over here because realistically you're not gonna keep that many players. You can't keep everybody. Left guard Joe Thuney, obviously going to be a starter. Luke Newman, I'm kind of nervous about putting in the 53-man, but he is taking some center reps. Here's my little note about him, and I think that will also give you some versatility because he's a guy that can play a little bit of guard, a little bit of center as well, and kind of be one of your flex players on that offensive line in worst-case scenarios. And then Bill Murray. Bill Murray to me is a lock. I don't know if most people would say Bill Murray's a lock, but in his time last year when he did start, I was really impressed. I never looked at Bill Murray and was like, he's the reason why we gave up a sack. Or I never really had that feeling with Bill Murray. He was always somebody that I thought was pretty consistent, did his job well. I like Bill Murray, man. I think he can be a very solid backup. Obviously, you don't want Joe Thuney to go down, but if Bill Murray was to step in for a week or 2, I don't think the offensive line would be that bad. I mean, there will be a drop-off because Joe Thuney is an all-pro. That guy is good, right? Bill Murray, though, I think would at least be able to manage for the short term. And then Drew Dalman at center. Obviously, a lock, paid him in the offseason. And then Luke Newman obviously could potentially be his backup. And you look at guys that are at that center position that didn't make the cut, at least for me, Doug Kramer and Ricky Stromberg. Guys that I think will probably be practice squad guys. One of them might be able to slip into that Luke Newman spot, depending on if they really trust Newman as a center. And if somebody were, I would assume it'd be Doug Kramer because he's been there. But I am leaning Luke Newman right now. Obviously, you drafted him in, I believe it was like the 5th round. We've seen Kramer. Stromberg hasn't really worked out in his NFL career just yet. I think you give Newman the chance here. Right guard, we got Jonah Jackson and Ryan Bates. Jonah Jackson obviously traded for him. You expect him to be the starter. Ryan Bates, a guy that we were very high on, and we went out and got, a year or two now ago. But another solid player when healthy, Ryan Bates. Good thing is, though, Jonah Jackson's in front of him. There is some injury concerns with both of our right guards, though. So maybe that's a spot also where you look at like a Luke Newman, even Bill Murray, having those two guys in instead of maybe an extra center. Those are guys that might be able to flip to the right side and play some guard if the injury concerns really pile up there with Jonah Jackson and Ryan Bates. Do we have any right guard? Jordan McFadden. You probably keep him on the practice squad. He's nothing great, but he's not bad in my opinion. I think he's okay. So you probably keep him. Right tackle, Darnell Wright obviously is the starter. I do know that yesterday he went down in camp. I'm not sure if that is a long-term, short-term. I haven't seen anything outside of he went down. So maybe by the time this video is out, he will have a timeline or something that like suggests maybe he won't be there at the beginning of the season. He's obviously not going to play in the preseason game, but I think he's obviously a lock. Karan Amagaji, I think, should be a lock as well. Spent a a second or third round pick on him last year. There was some buzz that if he wasn't hurt coming out of his college season from Yale, that he would have been a potential first round guy. Very tradesy, big. A guy that is from the Chicago area. I think he's probably on this team. In his time last year, obviously, he kind of got thrown into the fire coming off the injury. They needed him to step in. It wasn't really good, never really had a ramp-up period. Now he has a ramp-up period and a full offseason of, like, NFL development. We'll see if Karan Amagaji is a guy that could potentially keep like a long-term role on this team, and a guy that I wouldn't be shocked either if he at some point was to flip to the other tackle position as well, because you look at Darnell Wright and assume Darnell Wright's probably got that position on lock. The right tackle, Theo Benedict, somebody that they speak really, really highly of. You imagine he'll stick around on the roster for the practice squad. I don't know that there's a 53-man spot available for Theo Benedict, but I do think he'll at least stick on the practice squad. Then we get to the defensive linemen. We got Montez Sweat, Austin Booker, Grady Jarrett, Javon Dexter, Andrew Billings, Dio Odengbo, and Shamar Turner. All should be locks for the 53-man. Obviously, Sweat, he's your prized possession on your defensive line. You picked up Grady Jarrett, that you think can bring a lot. Billings, a big-time run stopper. Javon Dexter, more so of a pass rush specialist, defensive tackle. Dio Odengbo, they kind of are going to use kind of like as a jack of all traits. It sounds like they might line him up inside. They might line him up on the edge. Kind of feels like that is something that Dennis Allen is excited to use. Shamar Turner, obviously, drafted him in the second round. Another big physical guy up in the middle that I think could be very, very interesting to kind of get him and Javon Dexter rushing the quarterback at the same time. I think that could be a very solid pass rushing duo and the interior, because Shamar Turner in college did a fairly decent job of rushing quarterbacks. And then obviously we know Javon Dexter, he's a better pass rushing defensive lineman than he is a run defensive lineman. So I think Javon Dexter and Shamar Turner could work really, really well next to each other. Then we have a couple spots open. Sorry if I'm going to pronounce his name. I always mispronounce his name, and I always look up how to pronounce it. Tano Passanyon will also make this 53-man. He is a guy that we got from the Saints. I don't know exactly how we picked him up. He might have been released, or maybe I don't remember if we traded for him. I don't know. We've got him the last couple of weeks. Tano Passanyon. He's a guy that you look at, and once again, very traitsy, big, physical. He's a guy that Dennis Allen's worked with. He's got an edge over a lot of these guys. They brought him in for a reason, and that's because Dennis Allen knows that he's going to get what he wants out of Tano. So he will make the roster. Dominique Robinson has been getting some buzz at camp as well from Dennis Allen, and it seems like he'll probably be on the team more likely than not. But he is a guy that I have to put in, he's not a lock just yet, simply because there was a time last year where we thought maybe Dominique Robinson, we're going to move on from him. And then you look at the defensive linemen that you have, Jonathan Ford. If you want to add another defensive tackle, Zach Pickens, a guy you drafted a couple years ago as well, a defensive tackle that hasn't really done much for the Bears just yet. Daniel Hardy, a guy I really like and has flashed in some preseason and even in the regular season when he has gotten an opportunity. Xavier Carlton, a rookie as well on the defensive line. All guys that I think the Bears will have hard decisions to either let go or whether or not they'll be on the practice squad or the 53-man. I think the guy on this list most likely to make the 53-man would be Daniel Hardy. They might trade a Zach Pickens or a Jonathan Ford or whomever, but I think Dominique Robinson's in there, and then Chris Williams is another big man up front in the defensive tackle room. I think Chris Williams probably makes it. Maybe there's a spot for Daniel Hardy in there somewhere. Maybe he takes Dominique's. Maybe he takes Chris' spot. But I think I'm giving the edge here to Dominique and Chris Williams, and then obviously Tano is going to be in there. Linebackers: T.J. Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, both easily locks. I put Noah Sewell and Ruben Hippolyte both in as locks. Just out of curiosity, did I spell Ruben right? Just out of curiosity, is Ruben spelled that way? Okay, I did. I did spell Ruben's name right. I didn't know if it was Reubben or something. But Ruben Hippolyte, a guy that kind of shocked me when we drafted him. But it sounds like he's been really, really impressive at camp. And he seems to fit what Dennis Allen's looking for. And then you look at Noah Sewell, a guy that's kind of been just waiting for his time. You've seen, obviously, Jack Sanborn leave this team. I think he fits into that role. I think he is going to be that third linebacker. I think this year he's going to have a big boost in snap count and all that. And a guy that, if you look at him in college, was a beast. It was shocking when we drafted him because we didn't really know that the Bears were looking at linebacker, but Noah Sewell, a guy that is really, really well-rounded in the linebacking room. And then you got another guy here that, he's fought and he's stayed on the 53-man before. He's gotten opportunities with the Bears, and that's Amen Ogbongbemiga. I'm always going to pronounce that last name wrong. Ogbongbemiga. Amen. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. And the rest of these videos that we do on the Bears, his name is Amen. We're not going to pronounce the whole name. But Amen has been a guy that has flashed at times with the Bears. I don't think it's necessarily a lock. Maybe Power Eccles can get in there and take his spot. But I think Amen is probably as close to a lock on this roster as you can be without being in the green. He's, out of all the guys that are in yellow, I think Amen probably has the highest shot, then probably followed by Dominique Robinson. And then, the running backs, I think all the running backs, these guys should be there. It's just, I don't really know what we're going to do with the running back room, or if we're going to even do anything. The strong safeties, and free safeties, we got Jaquan Brisker, Jonathan Owens, Kevin Byard, all locks. Jonathan Owens, I think, can play both. Elijah Hicks as well should be on this team. I wouldn't be shocked if they maybe add a corner somewhere and take off Elijah Hicks and let him either fight on the practice squad if he makes it to the practice squad without getting signed by anybody else. But he's not a guy that I necessarily think He's a lock, but just for positional depth, I do have him as a guy that is going to make the 53. Wouldn't be shocked if they potentially go with Nahshon Wright, the corner, who has been gaining some buzz at camp as well. I wouldn't be shocked if they go with him and maybe cut out one of that safety room. But to talk about the corners, we have 4 locks in the cornerback room: Terrell Smith, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, and Jalen Johnson. Terrell Smith has been really, really impressive. When we have gotten to see him, he's stepped up when Tyreek was... I wouldn't say suspended, but when we were disciplining Tyreek Stevenson from the Commanders game last year, Terrell Smith stepped up. You figure he's a lock. Tyreek Stevenson, obviously very, very talented. Kyler Gordon, you're going to be playing a lot. And then Jalen Johnson. Now, Jalen Johnson is injured at the moment, so we'll just put IR question mark here. He is injured at the moment. So maybe there is a spot that opens up for Nahshon Wright right out the gate if you do have to send Jalen Johnson to the IR. But I think Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Terrell Smith are going to be the guys. I do have Zoff Frazier, our rookie corner, as being one of the guys on the 53-man. He is away from the team right now with personal issues going on. Is there much more than that? No. Do we know that he's going to play this preseason? No. Do we know when he's going to return to camp? No. But he is a guy that is a 6'3 corner that I really liked coming out of UTSA. I think he has a chance to potentially steal Tyreek Stevenson's DB2 opposite of Jalen Johnson. Obviously, Kyler Gordon will be kind of that slot guy. But Tyreek Stevenson, I don't necessarily think is a lock to keep that job. Terrell Smith will push for it. Zoff Frazier, a guy that I thought would push for it. And now, kind of hard to imagine Zoff Frazier on the 53-man if he misses, depending on how much of the preseason he's going to miss because he's away from the team at the moment. But I think you can't, like, I get it. He's away from the team. It's hard to keep him on the 53-man. You don't really get a preseason out of him. But I don't necessarily love the idea of him going to the practice squad and having the potential to be signed away from us. So I would keep him on the 53-man because I think it's yes, you might lose Nahshon Wright to another team that will sign him, or maybe you could trade Nahshon Wright before the season starts and you have to release him, trade him for like a 6th, 5th round pick or whatever. But to me, it's hard to give up Zoff Frazier. It's hard to give him up because I think he could be really, really good. It's just I don't know if he'll make it out of the onto the practice squad. Teams will want him. I think teams will want him even with kind of the personal issues that are going on at the moment, which, I mean, we don't really need to know too much more about that other than he's away from the team and he's dealing with some things right now off the field. I don't know that you can risk putting him on the practice squad and somebody else coming and stealing him. And then I think Josh Blackwell makes the team. He's a guy that's been a special teamer for us. He's a guy that has been there on this team and has been solid when he's gotten opportunities. It was real hard for me here, though, to go with the cornerback room, especially without Zoff Frazier being a lock to make this roster, and especially that Nahshon Wright's been gaining some buzz at camps. Trey Flowers is a veteran. Sean Wade and Nick McLeod are guys that I expect to probably push for practice squad time. But Nahshon Wright and Trey Flowers kind of make it a little difficult to predict. I don't think Trey Flowers will make the team, but he is a veteran. You never know. Nahshon Wright, it's been really a lot of buzz from him out of camp, so I wouldn't be shocked if he makes this team. And it kind of sucks. There's always a guy that deserves to make the 53-man that doesn't ultimately, and that could be Nahshon Wright, and perhaps he goes elsewhere and does really solid. I think he played only one game last year for the Vikings, but it would be really, really... I rather, and this, it sounds bad because Nahshon Wright is somebody that I think could come in and be impactful for us based off what we're hearing from camp, but I rather lose Nahshon Wright than Zoff Frazier. I rather, because I think Zoff Frazier could really be something special. Then our kicker, obviously Cairo. I think there's another kicker in the battle. He ain't gonna win. Torrey Taylor, competitionless. I think there's another long snapper in the battle as well with Scott Daly. It's not gonna happen though. It's not gonna happen. But we do have Major Burns as well, potentially fighting for a roster spot. Probably a practice squad guy. Maybe he steals Elijah Hicks' spot, but probably not. Major Burns though, a rookie, undrafted free agent. So I think really this is my prediction for what the 53 man is going to look like. We had to make some hard decisions off Frazier. I just can't I can't get over giving him up, man. I get it, he hasn't been at practice, but I have a hard time gambling that he's going to make it past past the waivers or whatever it is. When you have to go through roster cuts and send people to the practice squad, I don't know if he'll make it. He's a guy that I really liked. And I really hope that for his sake that whatever is going on in his personal life sorts itself out and he comes back and makes this team and has a great year. I think Zoff Frazier is somebody that definitely this spot right here, the 48th spot on this team, is a spot that's wide open because Zoff Frazier isn't necessarily a lock away from the team, but just to kind of show you guys how many spots are really open. The running back room is kind of hard to predict, right? I don't necessarily know that if they keep 4 running backs, this is kind of why they're all yellow, is because it's if they keep 4 running backs, they might trade Roshan. Manunga is a rookie, could maybe go practice squad. Travis Homer, kind of just a special teams guy. Is there somebody else that they could find to do that? It depends on if they keep 4 running backs. If they keep 4 running backs, it's this group. And if they don't sign anybody or anything, it's this group. So I don't necessarily know that there's a spot open there. There's potentially 2 receiver spots open, maybe a tight end spot. I do think there is a offensive lineman spot open. You go to the defensive line, there might be a spot or 2 open here. There might be a linebacker spot open, and there's maybe 2 or 3 secondary spots open. So there's not very many spots left on this team that are open, and you're going to have all the guys that are in yellow right now fighting for those spots. Say Jade Walker has a really great preseason. You're like, you know what, we got to keep this guy. That could maybe knock out Travis Homer, right? Or maybe that knocks out somebody elsewhere. But as of right now, before any game, this is my group. So we will do it again on probably not Saturday because we play Sunday. Either Sunday afternoon or Monday at some point. We are going to come in here and we are going to make a post preseason game 1 kind of 53 man. If anything changes, maybe it won't, and maybe I'll just come on here and talk about the preseason game and who I thought flashed and who I think maybe needs to show a little bit more. But for the most part, I think this is probably going to be the group that we're looking at this season. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.